In my 35 years sitting on the bench in Providence, Rhode Island, I've seen just about everything a human being can carry into a courtroom: pride, anger, fear, shame, and sometimes something far more dangerous than all of those combined: a defensive wall so sharp, so immediate, and that it pushes help away before it even has a chance to arrive. But there was one morning, one case, that stood apart from all the rest. A single mother of 5 walked into my courtroom, and within seconds she tested the limits of my patience in a way very few people ever have. What happened next? People online later called it savage. Some said it was too harsh, others said it was exactly what needed to be done, but the truth is, what looked like disrespect in the beginning turned out to be something much deeper, something far more human. If this story touches you in any way, I want you to leave a comment below, because what you're about to hear is not just about law. It's about the fragile line between punishment and saving someone before they fall apart completely. I've always believed something simple. Justice cannot be careless, it cannot be weak, but it must always remain human. That belief didn't come from textbooks. It came from my parents, immigrants from Italy, who taught me that struggling people don't need pity. They need dignity. That morning, the courtroom was already moving at its usual pace. Case after case, names being called, people stepping forward, arguing over tickets, fines, small violations, routine, predictable, until the clerk called the next name, Sarah Jenkins. From the third row, a woman stood up slowly, and the moment she moved, you could feel the atmosphere shift. It's something you learn to recognize after decades on the bench. Some people walk into a courtroom hoping, others walk in defeated, but every once in a while, someone walks in like a cornered animal, and that was her. She looked to be in her early 40s. Her coat was worn, frayed at the edges, her hair pulled back in a way that said she hadn't had time to care about how she looked. Her eyes, red, not from anger, from exhaustion. But her posture told a different story. Her chin was lifted, her jaw tight, her grip on a stack of wrinkled papers so firm, it was as if letting go would cause her entire world to collapse. I looked down at her file, and on paper, it didn't look good. 3 illegal parking tickets, a speeding violation in a school zone, and the most serious, driving on a suspended license. If you only looked at the paperwork, you'd assume one thing: irresponsible, reckless, careless. But after 35 years, I've learned that paper doesn't tell the full story. People do. I looked at her over my glasses. "Good morning, Ms. Jenkins." She didn't nod, didn't acknowledge, didn't soften. Instead, she fired back instantly. "Morning, Judge. Just tell me how much I owe so I can get to work. I don't have time for this." The entire courtroom went silent. You could feel the tension snap in the air. Inspector Quinn shifted slightly beside her. That look on his face, I've seen it 100 times. The silent message: this could go bad, fast. Because in most courtrooms, that kind of attitude doesn't last long. It gets shut down immediately. But I've learned something most people never realize. When someone comes in aggressive within the first 10 seconds, it's not confidence. It's pressure. It's someone barely holding it together. Still, that behavior had to be addressed. I leaned forward slightly, lowered my voice. Not louder, sharper, controlled. "Ms. Jenkins, this is a courtroom, not a checkout counter. You walked in here asking for consideration, while showing none." I paused, then said the word that changed everything. "That's not just disrespectful, it's pitiful." The room froze. Because that word, it cuts deeper than anger ever could. And the moment it landed, her expression shifted. Not completely, but enough. Because I don't use words like that to tear someone down. I use them to force reflection. Some people need a fine to learn. Others need a moment that shakes them awake. Her grip on the papers loosened slightly. Her voice changed. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, Your Honor." And right there, the wall cracked. Now we were no longer dealing with attitude. We were dealing with truth. I opened the file again. "Let's talk about the water you're in. 3 parking tickets, fine. People make mistakes. But then we have speeding. 45 miles per hour in a 20-mile school zone. And on top of that, driving on a suspended license. I leaned forward. Do you understand how serious that is? She looked down. Yes, sir. No. I shook my head. I don't think you do. A school zone. Children walk there. What if one child stepped out? 1 second. That's all it takes. Your rush could have destroyed a family forever. Silence filled the room. Heavy silence. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. Then I asked, why is your license suspended? She swallowed. Unpaid fines from last year. I couldn't afford them. And the insurance fees? So they suspended it. I looked directly into her eyes. Then why are you driving? And that's when everything changed. Her eyes closed. Her shoulders dropped. And a tear slipped down her face. Because if I don't drive, I lose my job. If I lose my job, we lose the apartment. And if we lose the apartment, her voice broke completely. I have 5 kids, Judge. 5. And I'm doing this alone. And just like that, everything in that courtroom changed. What stood in front of me was no longer a defendant. It was a mother, standing on the edge of collapse. You could feel it in the silence. Even the people sitting in the gallery, waiting for their own cases, stopped shifting, stopped whispering. Because when real truth enters a room, it demands attention. I looked down again at the file in front of me. But this time, I wasn't just reading violations, I was reading patterns. The speeding ticket, 7:15 in the morning. The parking tickets, late at night, 11:45 p.m., 1:15 a.m., 2:10 a.m. That wasn't random. That was a schedule, a life, a struggle. I looked back up at her. Ms. Jenkins, where were you going at 7:15 in the morning? Her voice trembled. To the elementary school, to drop off my youngest, before my shift. I nodded slowly. And the night tickets? She hesitated, wiped her face. I clean offices, downtown. The diner is my day job, cleaning is my night job. The words landed heavy. 2 jobs, back to back. No rest, no pause, no margin for error. I leaned back slightly in my chair. Because now the picture was clear. This wasn't irresponsibility. This was survival, stretched beyond its limits. Who is watching your children at night? She looked away, almost ashamed. My oldest son, he's 14. He stays awake until I get home. That answer stayed with me. A 14-year-old boy, holding the role of protector, while his mother fights to keep everything from falling apart. I took off my glasses slowly, rubbed the bridge of my nose, because at that moment, this case stopped being about traffic violations and became something much bigger. Ms. Jenkins, you think you're holding everything together, but you're not. I leaned forward again, locking eyes with her. You are one mistake away from losing everything. One accident, one police stop, one moment of exhaustion, and your children lose their mother. Her reaction was immediate. No, please. She shook her head, covering her face. I can't. And that sound, that broken, desperate sound, it fills a courtroom in a way no argument ever could. It strips away everything, titles, positions, authority, and leaves only one thing behind, human reality. I let the silence sit, because silence does something powerful. It forces truth to settle. Then I asked the question that mattered most. How much do you owe to get your license back? She swallowed hard. $450, plus $100 reinstatement fee. $550 to most people, an inconvenience. To her, a wall she couldn't climb. And I said something that I've believed for a long time. You know what's truly unfair? A system that takes away your ability to work because you can't afford a fine. That's not helping you. That's trapping you. I turned slightly toward Inspector Quinn. If she walks out of here today and drives, what happens? He stepped forward. Professional. Clear. She gets arrested, Your Honor. The car is impounded immediately. I turned back to her, and I watched the color drain from her face. Do you understand that? If you drive home today, you go to jail. And your children, they're alone tonight. Her hands covered her mouth. I can't go to jail. Who will feed them? Exactly. My voice cut through the room. You came in here angry, but you shouldn't be angry at this court. You should be terrified of what's about to happen if this continues. I let that settle. Because sometimes fear is the only thing strong enough to wake someone up. Then I leaned back slightly and made a decision. All right, here's what we're going to do. The entire room leaned in because everyone knew this moment mattered. I am dismissing the 3 parking tickets. A small gasp escaped her. You were working. That's not a crime, I continued. The speeding, that is serious. You endangered lives. But considering the circumstances, I am reducing it. No points, minimal penalty. Then I paused, because now we were at the real issue. The suspended license, that's the anchor dragging you down. I glanced at the clerk, then back at her. You owe $550. I cannot erase state fees. But I reached slightly to the side. There is something I can do. I placed my hand on a small wooden box. This court has a fund. It's called the Philomena Fund, named after my mother. She believes something very simple. When good people fall into a deep hole, you don't throw dirt on them. You throw them a ladder. The room went completely still. You could feel it. Every person, waiting, listening. The Philomena Fund is going to pay your $550. Today. For a moment, she didn't react, like her mind couldn't process what she just heard. Then slowly, her knees buckled. She grabbed the podium to stay standing, and the tears came. Not controlled, not quiet. Real, deep, overwhelming. The kind of crying that doesn't come from weakness, but from release, from finally being seen. Inspector Quinn stepped forward quietly, placed a clean handkerchief beside her. Even the prosecutor looked down, silent, because in that moment, this wasn't about winning a case. It was about witnessing a life change. But I wasn't finished, because mercy, without structure, doesn't help anyone. Miss Jenkins, my voice firm again. Look at me. She lifted her head slowly. I am removing this burden from your shoulders. But I am not giving you a free pass. Her expression shifted, listening, focused. This is an opportunity, and it comes with responsibility. I leaned forward. If I ever see you in here again, for speeding in a school zone, I will not be this forgiving. You are a mother of 5. You know exactly how precious children are. Do not put another child at risk. She nodded quickly. I understand. I swear. I don't want promises. I interrupted gently to, I want change. Then I said, drive like your own children are in that street. That landed, deep. Now go sit with the clerk. We're fixing this. Right now. She walked away from the podium, and it was like watching a different person. When she walked in, she was defensive, heavy, ready to fight. Now, her shoulders were lighter, her steps steady. Hope had replaced fear, and that is something you don't see often in a courtroom. The courtroom slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Case after case, names called, voices echoing, but something had shifted. Everyone in that room had just witnessed something rare, not punishment, not authority, but intervention at the exact moment it was needed most. Sarah Jenkins sat beside the clerk, her hands still trembling as the paperwork was processed. I could hear the faint clicking of the keyboard, the soft murmur of confirmation, and then a single, sharp sound, the stamp, final. Decisive. Paid in full. License reinstated. The clerk handed her the documents gently. Take this to the registry. Your license is valid. Sarah held the papers like they were something fragile, something priceless, because to her, they were. She turned slightly, looked back toward the bench. Our eyes met for just a moment. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Because sometimes, gratitude is too big for words. And what I saw in her expression was something I never forget. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. The kind that only comes when someone pulls you back, just before you fall. She walked toward the exit slowly, but her walk had changed. When she entered that courtroom, she moved like someone carrying the weight of the world, defensive, heavy, on edge. Now, her shoulders were relaxed, her head lifted, and in her hands, she held more than paperwork. She held a second chance. The heavy wooden doors opened, and she stepped out into the morning light, free. But the story doesn't end there, because in a courtroom, faces come and go, hundreds every week. Most blur together over time, but every once in a while, there's someone you don't forget. And about 6 months later, an envelope appeared on my desk. Simple, white, my name written on it, carefully, deliberately. The return address, a local nursing program. I opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter and a photograph. The letter was from Sarah Jenkins. She wrote that the day she walked out of that courtroom, something inside her changed, not just relief, not just gratitude, direction, because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't surviving anymore. She was thinking about a future. She wrote that without the pressure of those fines, without the fear of losing her car, without the need to work through the night just to keep up. She made a decision. She quit her overnight cleaning job and enrolled in an accelerated nursing assistant program. She wrote, "Judge, because you paid that $550, I got my nights back. My son doesn't have to stay awake anymore. My kids don't have to worry about me not coming home. I'm working at a hospital now. I make more in one shift than I used to in 2 jobs. We are finally breathing." I set the letter down, then picked up the photograph, and what I saw was everything. Sarah stood there in blue medical scrubs, smiling, not forced, not tired, genuine, alive. And around her, her 5 children, all smiling, safe, together. The exhaustion that once lived in her eyes, gone, replaced by something stronger, pride, peace, hope. And in that moment, every decision I made that day in court was validated, because that's what people don't understand. They hear the word justice, and they think punishment. They think consequences. They think control. But real justice? It's not about breaking people. It's about recognizing when someone is already breaking and giving them a reason not to fall completely apart. People online love the word savage. They want to see judges slam the hammer, deliver harsh sentences, make examples out of people. And sometimes that's necessary. But let me tell you something. The real savage act isn't destroying someone who's already struggling. It's destroying the system that keeps them trapped there. Because here's the truth. A $500 fine to someone wealthy is an inconvenience, a click of a button, forgotten by lunchtime. But to someone like Sarah Jenkins, that same fine is a chain. It takes away mobility, then income, then stability, and eventually it takes away everything. Same mistake, different outcome. All depending on one thing, money. That's not justice, that's imbalance. But on that day, in that courtroom, that cycle was broken. Not with anger, not with punishment, but with understanding and structure, a ladder instead of a weight. So now I ask you, if you were sitting where I was, what would you have done? Would you have followed the strict letter of the law, issued fines, taught her a lesson? Or would you have done what I did, connected accountability by with a chance to rebuild? Leave a comment below, because conversations like this, they matter. They shape how we see each other. They shape what kind of system we build. And if this story meant something to you, share it. Because someone out there right now is standing exactly where Sarah Jenkins once stood, tired, overwhelmed, one step away from losing everything, and maybe, just maybe, they don't need punishment. They need a way out, a moment of understanding, a second chance. Remember this. The law is powerful, but it should never be used to destroy a family when a little compassion could save it. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love, and never forget, behind every mistake, there is a human being fighting a battle you cannot see. God bless you.